Hey everybody, welcome back to Fiverr Talks. My name as always is Joel Young, and today we're asking, what's up with gig video thumbnails? How important are they? And what are gig still images, and should I be concerned with them? Answers to all these questions and more right here in this video. That's right, today we're talking all about gig video thumbnails because unless you've lived under a rock for the last decade, you should know that anytime you put a video on the internet, that thumbnail, the thing people see before they click play, is one of the most important factors to whether or not they actually click play, whether they connect with the content on the other side, and on a platform like Fiverr, whether or not they buy from you. So it has to be good, it has to be well thought out and well done, and if you aren't doing those things, then you could be passed over even if you have a great service. What I want you to understand through a lot of our videos here on Fiverr Talks is that you may be selling creative services on Fiverr, but you're selling them through video. That's Fiverr's main way to showcase your talent to their buyers is video. That's why the video of a seller is the first thing you see when you start searching for services. There's a thumbnail there with a play button, and it's one of the first things that people watch. One of the first looks that people have at you and your service, even if it's not your actual service, it's a way for them to connect with you as a seller, and it's very, very, very important. So before we jump into everything, I thought it'd be good to take a minute to differentiate what is a gig video thumbnail and what is a gig still image, because they're two very different things, but yet they also interact and act as the same thing in certain situations. One shows up instead of the other, and they mean a lot of the same things. So the tips I'm going to be giving you today will relate to both still images and gig video thumbnails. So let's start with gig video thumbnails. The first thing you need to know is that when you upload your gig video, after Fiverr approves it and it appears on your gig page, you can go into the gig dashboard and select any frame in that video to be your thumbnail, what appears on the page and in search results before people hit play. Now, this is extremely important to know because if you're recording or creating a gig video, you need to make sure there's a spot in there, a scene in there, at least one frame in there that you can pull for a great gig video thumbnail. This is something you have to really think about beforehand, or you'll end up with a crazy thumbnail where you're frozen going, or something funny like that, and maybe there's motion blur on your arms or your head, and you don't want any of that. You want a clear message, you want a clear image for people to see, and you want it to entice them to click. Now, on the other side, there is an image opportunity for you to upload an image attached to your gig, and the first image will appear as your gig still images image in some places. For instance, when you send offers to people through buyer requests, when you're sending messages in the inbox, responding to people in relation to a gig, not the video thumbnail, but the gig still image is what appears. And so it's important to realize that these things act very similarly in different situations. When there is no video to play, it's your still image. When your video is available and ready to play in a part of results page or something like that, or on your actual gig page, it's your video thumbnail. But no matter which one people are looking at, we want several things to be apparent and we want several rules to be followed. So I thought it'd be cool today to talk about some of my best practices for creating that gig video thumbnail and that gig still image. There's actually some things you can do with your still image that you can't do with a thumbnail, but the same basic principles apply. And the first most important principle is you need to do a little research in your niche, in your category, find out what most common thumbnails look like, and then make sure that your thumbnail is unique. And you can do this in several ways. You can do this by the setting you're in. You can do this by the graphics that are on screen. But I think the most important way to do this is through the use of color. Not just in a crazy, gotta jump out and grab you kind of color, but something that's different than what you normally see on the page. Something that does grab a little bit of attention, but it's not obnoxious. You can use color in your thumbnails to attract people to yours versus what everybody else is doing. Whether that means putting a colored box around your thumbnail, or bordering the top and bottom with color, or nice, interesting contrast in the color between your background and the text you're putting in there. Whatever you're doing, look for a way to make your thumbnail or your still image unique, because when it's unique, it stops the scroll. That's one of the most important things in search results or any kind of marketing, is that you stop the scroll, give people a reason to click through, not only watch your video, but go to your gig page, and give people a reason to look at that thumbnail. So do a little bit of research and see what other people's thumbnails look like, and then do something different, do something unique, do something that makes yourself stand out. Second, you want to make sure that you are in the thumbnail. You've probably heard me talk about this a lot till I'm blue in the face. You're probably sick of hearing me say this, but people are not buying a service. They're buying a service from a service provider. They want to work with real people. That's why they're on Fiverr, and they didn't hire a company or a website or, somebody just generically through the internet. They wanted to connect with a person, a freelancer, and that is you, and work with that person in a trusted relationship of creative bliss. That's what you want to produce when you're on Fiverr. So make sure that you're in the thumbnail, but make sure it's a flattering picture of you, that you're in a flattering setting, that it makes you look professional and not like a $2 dweeb in somebody's basement. Make sure it makes you look as good as you are and as good as your service is, because you are the face of this brand. You're the face of your Fiverr account, your Fiverr brand, your Fiverr storefront, your Fiverr business, whatever you want to call it. You are the face. You're the reason it succeeds or it fails. And so make sure you are in the thumbnail, but make it creative. Make sure that you're in there in a way that elevates your message, your service, but represents you well and puts you in the right light. So make it unique and make sure your face is in there. The third thing I want to talk about, and this is pretty simple, but it's very important, and a lot of people don't follow this rule, is limit the amount of text you have in both your thumbnail and your still image. If you put tons of text in there, no one scrolling on a mobile phone is going to be able to read that text, because it's going to be very, very small. So make sure that your text is pointed, relevant, and important. If you need to emphasize that you do a certain type of service, make sure that keyword is on screen. I would say 3 to 5 words should be visible on this thumbnail. Maybe closer to 3 than 5. If you put a ton of text on there, no one is going to read it. No one's going to have the opportunity to read it or see it. They're going to pass you up. But if they're large, remembering that this is going to probably be viewed on a mobile phone 50% of the time, if I were guessing, traffic is constantly moving over to the mobile app and things like that, then you should be using small amounts of text and making sure that those keywords in that text are not only prominent, but they're grabbing people's attention with the color, contrasting with the background. They just stick out and give people a reason to click, play, or go through to your gig page. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is something that should be pretty self-explanatory, but I want to make sure we cover it, because I see this all the time where still images are stretched and they don't look good. Make sure you're uploading to Fiverr's recommended size, both with your gig videos and with your gig still image, because if you don't upload to recommended sizes or quality, then when people view your image, it might be stretched or pushed or pixelated. It might not look good. It might be the wrong aspect ratio. Make sure you're following Fiverr's guidelines for those things closely. And you can get those details by going to the gig page, the gig dashboard, actually. It's the editor on the back end. Clicking on the areas for the still images and the video, it will have a little tooltip that will come up and recommend what you should size your image to and your video to. And that will allow you to go through and select put something together rather, that fits the format, fits the platform, looks the best it can possibly be, and perform the best it can possibly perform for you. Now, the final suggestion I'll make about your video thumbnail and your gig still image is that you can test around different ideas. It's not a bad idea to put together a new thumbnail with all these tips, test it out, see how your impressions work, maybe test something different, see if they go up, see if they go down. I realize that's sometimes hard to do on Fiverr because traffic and click-throughs can be affected by season, date, the economy, things like that. But if you're testing these in a similar time frame, maybe one for a week and then another one back to back, and the next week, you should probably be able to see which one performed better, which one got a better reaction from the searchers on Fiverr, from potential buyers, and go with that one. I wouldn't sit there and change it every week for like 5 weeks. I might try 2, maybe 3 max, test it out, see how it goes. Try different thumbnails. You don't even have to re-upload a video. You could actually just choose a section in your video, maybe choose a different section for the next week. Track your results, see how these things work, because one of the best things that you can do as a Fiverr seller is continually tweak your gig descriptions, your videos, your still images, all these things to make them the best they can possibly be. If you're not tweaking the performance, then you're not maximizing everything you do. So make sure that you're finding a way to look at what you've done, evaluate its effectiveness, and then make changes as necessary to make sure that your gigs are getting the traffic and attention they deserve, because many of you have great gigs hiding behind bad thumbnails, and people won't even be able to find them if you don't put in the work, time, and research to make sure that they're good. Hey, thanks so much for joining me for this video. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Consider subscribing. You watched all the way to the end of this video. It must mean you found some value. You can click subscribe down below, hit the bell to be notified every time we post a new video, which on YouTube is Monday and Wednesday. And if you want to go deeper, we do exclusive content, Q&A videos every month over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/DJYoung. Become a Fiverr Talks insider and get personal digital mentorship from me. We interact a lot more. I can go deeper with you all, answer your practical questions. The community is growing and they're finding great value in that content. So as always, thank you so much for supporting this channel. If you like what you saw in this video, then give me a thumbs up. It really helps me in the algorithm as we're chasing down the top spots for Fiverr and filling people in with free information every single week. As always, continue to do, because the future favors the doers.